Hey everybody, so in this video, we're going to be looking at the Parallax Image stack. When you purchase Parallax 2, you'll get a Parallax Image and Parallax back. In this particular video, we're going to be looking at the Parallax Image stack. So when you add the Parallax Image stack to the page, you will notice that there is a stacks drop zone. This allows you to easily add content, whatever content you want, and that content will be automatically centered on top of the background images that you provide. Now, the content is not required. You can actually have just the parallax image. If you just want it there for an accent, you don't have to have content within it. But now that that's explained, let's jump in to look at some of the settings. So let's look at this demo file. This is the demo file that ships with Parallax 2. And you'll notice that inside the settings, we have the ability to define 3 separate images. We can define images for small, medium, and large. Now, if you don't provide large or medium, it will actually use the small as the default. So if you just want to use one images for all devices, you can do that. So if you provide a medium, it'll use that for medium and large devices. And then if you provide all 3, it'll basically do a unique image for all 3 devices. So they will inherit. The medium and large are optional, okay? Now you can also provide warehoused images. So you can provide an URL to an image if you want to do that. Or if you're using something like Total CMS, you can use your Total CMS macros in there as well. So super powerful and useful there. Now below our images, we can actually define an alt tag for SEO. So this does use an actual image on the page so that we can actually, add an alt tag for SEO purposes. Now the next setting here is auto scale, and we'll look at that in a little bit. I'm going to skip that. We'll show you actually live kind of what this does for us. The vertical and horizontal, these are our settings to control the direction of our animation. So vertical is, negative or positive values, either animate it up or animate it down. And then horizontal animates it right or left, depending on if it's positive or negative. Now, if you set either of these to 0, okay, it'll actually disable that direction. And then it actually unveils a couple little options for alignment. Now, normally you're never going to set both of these to 0. It's probably one or the other. So like if I only wanted vertical animation, I would set horizontal to 0, and then we can actually set some alignment options. Similarly, if I wanted left to right or horizontal animation, I could disable vertical by setting it to 0, and then I have additional alignment options. We'll look at that in a little bit. Now, next up is we have an overlay option, and that allows us to add a little bit of contrast between our image and our text. Depending on the image that you add inside of Parallax Image, this overlay can really make your content pop, especially text. And then last, we have the ability to customize the height of the Parallax container. And these height settings are based on the height of the browser window. And you can set different sizes for small, medium, and large. Now, what's important to note here is this is a minimum height. So if your content, let's say, breaks down and it actually ends up causing the container to be big, it will allow the container to grow. These are just the minimum height, okay? And again, a lot of times this is perfect, but it is great that it's a minimum height. So if maybe on small devices, if you have a lot of content, it will allow that container to grow and it won't chop off your content. And last but not least, for all Foundation 6 lovers, and CSS lovers out there, we have custom classes that you can add to the Parallax container to do all kinds of maybe other things, like maybe add a drop shadow or do some other advanced things that aren't available out of the box inside Parallax. Okay, so let's go ahead and play around with some of these animation options here. And we're going to play around with this container. And just for fun, we're going to go ahead and increase the height of this. So I'm going to go ahead and set this to like 80%. Okay, so now I made that to be 80%. And if you notice, I disabled vertical and horizontal. They're both set to 0. So that is now not animating anything. So not too exciting there. Let's go ahead and change that. Let's go ahead and set vertical. Okay. So now I'm just going to animate vertically. So if you notice that, now the larger the number or the farther away from 0, the more movement you are going to get. So if I set this all the way to 50%, we're going to get a lot more movement than if we set it closer to like 9 or 10%, right? So do you want a subtle animation or do you want like a lot, right? Now let's have a look at these horizontal alignment options here. So right now I'm only animating vertically. So I can go ahead and right now it's set to be left aligned, which means over here on the side, that's the very left part of my image. And if I go ahead and do center alignment, it's now centering aligning the image. And if we go left, actually, I just realized something. I have auto scale turned on, which auto scale, when you have only vertical alignment, it's going to fit that image to always fit. If I go ahead and turn this off, okay, we'll see that it's zoomed in on the image. And that's because what it's doing is it's actually displaying the native resolution of that image. This particular image is about 2,000 pixels wide. So it's going to zoom in. It's going to show the actual native resolution of the image. And if you notice here, it's left or right aligned. So this is the right side of the image. If I go ahead and center align that, we'll see it's centered aligned. If I left align it, then that image is going to be left. Okay. And that brings us back to this auto scale image. What does that do? So auto scaling will make sure that the image fits widthwise into the container. Okay, now if we have horizontal and vertical animation going on, so let's turn this on. Depending on your image, auto scale could work great. So in this case, I have a square image, actually. It's actually a really large 2,000 by 2,000 pixel image. And so auto scale works okay. I don't get the image. Oh, if we notice just around there, it gets cut off a little bit, right? So in this particular case, auto scale, either I have to provide a larger image or auto scaling needs to be adjusted, okay? So also I can maybe turn off or turn down that horizontal animation. So as you see up, it's almost there, right? So depending on your image that you're using, auto scaling may or may not work depending on the image that you have, okay? So let's have a look at if I turn off vertical and then I turn on horizontal scrolling. So here we'll notice that when I set vertical to 0, it gives us some vertical alignment options, and I can set that to either align to the top of the image, the middle, or the bottom, just like we saw with the horizontal. And then I can set my horizontal animation here. So it's going to animate, it's going to animate horizontally based on that.